What's going on YouTube? I'm back again with another video. This video I want to talk about Pokemon Generation 1.5 and why. And I know some of you guys are like, why are you talking about, aren't you supposed to talk about Generation 2? I mean, there's no such thing as Generation 1.5. Well, Pokemon during this time was kind of going to, let me give you guys a little background, okay? So like around like 1999, 2000, you know, after Indigo Leaf finished, Pokemon was preparing for Generation 2, but it was because Generation 2 already been out. Gold and Silver has been already been out in Japan, by the time the Indigo Leaf finished in 1999. But Pokemon was trying to prepare the Western audience for Generation 2, so they gave us a year of hiatus for filler episodes, which is known as the Orange Islands. Orange Islands don't really get talked about much in the Pokemon community. It just seen as filler. Nobody really talks about the Orange Islands really that much. And I kind of don't blame a lot of people because Orange Islands was, for the most part, filler, but it was unique. It was very different from the other seasons. Especially considering the fact that this was a time, it's the only time Ash actually won a league. Yes, Ash actually won a Pokemon League, technically. If we not include the ones from the games, because every region except this region was based on the mainline video games, which Kanto is based on Red and Blue, Joe is based on Gold and Silver, Hoenn, Ruby and Sapphire, and so forth. So with this transition, Pokemon was it was still pretty popular around this time. It was still pretty big, but it kind of like died down. Because a lot of people didn't like the Orange Islands. A lot of Gen 1 fanatics, don't really talk about Gen 1 fanatics. Only focus on the Indigo League because Indigo League, as far as the anime is concerned, because Orange Islands was kind of like when people was like, what the heck is going on? Why is Brock's replaced by Tracy? Why is this region not in the video games and stuff like that? So a lot of people was going through that phase, and also was during this time, we got introduced to, this was a little bit before Orange Islands. We got introduced to Gen 2 Pokemon, but we didn't get, right long before Gen 2 was even a thing. Togepi was introduced very early in the series. This was after. This is like episode 53, episode 55, I believe. When Isty's competing for a contest for an egg, and she got Togepi. This is like in the first season of Pokemon, and like a year and a half before they go, Gen 2 started. This was like in the fall or summer of '99. So like this was like long before we knew about Gen 2. And then also Mara was introduced, Pokemon first movie. So like we already knew about Gen 2 Pokemon. Oh yeah, and Dolphin also. That's another Pokemon that was introduced around this time period. So like we kind of getting like the hints of there are more Pokemon than 151 at this time, but we still kind of and had this notion that that there's only like one region in the game, but then turns out there are like multiple regions in Pokemon, but we just focus heavily on the Kanto region. So this was a pretty interesting time period for Pokemon's franchise. Again, this was during a transition between Generation 1 and Generation 2. Around this time we had Pokemon the Orange Island series. Around this time we had Pokemon Stadium, which came out in the States, in early 2000. Also, we had around this time the Pokemon 2000. That's another movie that came out around this time period, which introduced Lugia and Slowking. Lugia, which is as you guys know, if it's a Gen 2 Pokemon, Gen 2 legendary Pokemon, but it was introduced it was introduced before Ash entered Johto, so it was still considered Generation 1, even though by this point we kind of already knew about Gold and Silver. So again, this was a pretty cool time to be a Pokemon fan because we learned about all these different Pokemon that wasn't introduced in Red and Blue and Yellow, but we still, didn't really, we still wasn't really sure that there's more in Pokemon than just Kanto. So it was pretty fun time. My cousin, got into Pokemon, was getting into Pokemon around this time, late 1999, early 2000 ish. He's kind of getting into Pokemon around this time, and it was just a pretty fun time to be in Pokemon. Um, it was pretty a fun time to be in Pokemon at this point. Again, this was a little bit before my time. I got into Pokemon like during the middle of Generation 2, so I kind of missed the hype going from Kanto to Johto. But I can imagine how big the transition was, because Pokemon was so big at this time. Like it was on the news, it was on CNN. You had politicians talk about it. You had preachers talking about it. You had like pretty much everybody in the mainstream media was aware of Pokemon at this point. Also you had video games. Again, you had video games. You had a lot of spin-off games. You didn't just have the main games. You had like Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium. For both of those games were on the 64. Pokemon was featured on Smash Brothers, the original Smash Brothers. Yeah, Pikachu and Jigglypuff. So Pokemon was pretty big at this time. This was when Pokemon was like at its peak. During this time period, going from Generation 1 to Generation 2, and Pokemon still continued to grow in popularity, but it kind of fell off a little bit around 2001 ish, 2002, 2001, 2002. That's when it kind of fell off from being the go-to anime for kids. But Pokemon did have competition around this time. Digimon came out, in '99. So like a lot of people, who didn't enjoy the Pokemon anime went to Digimon, even though a lot of Pokemon fans shunned Digimon for being a ripoff, but Digimon was still held his own, during this time period. So Pokemon was, again, it was a pretty big deal at this, the first two generations, and it's, and the fact that it still holds on strong today, it just shows the longevity behind the series. Because originally, when Pokemon first, came out in Japan, it was only meant to last two generations. It was supposed to be Kanto and Johto, and that was it. But Pokemon was so popular, especially here in the States, that it had to continue. It had to stay relevant for long periods of time. Hence why we own Generation 7 right now. So with that being said, this is Queen's Kid. Next video I'm going to discuss the Johto Generation 2, and this is where I come into this play. So with that being said, sign out.